Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. Here are some pictures you sent into our eyewitness portal. We'll begin with this one from Ilorin, the Kwara state capital. It shows a long queue of motorists and other consumers of petrol waiting outside a filling station as the fuel scarcity bites harder. Our eyewitness reporter wants the federal government to help resolve the situation. Our next photo shows a gully erosion along a road in Ika, South local government area of Delta State. Our eyewitness reporter wants state authorities to come to the aid of residents in the community and end their suffering. Finally, this one was sent in from Lekki Estate in Lagos State. It shows motorists driving along the median. Our eyewitness reporter describes the motorist as impatient. He wants to see the state traffic regulatory officials enforce stipulated sanctions. President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria now enjoys more goodwill from within and outside the country following the formation of his cabinet. He says this was made possible by the speedy approval of ministerial nominees sent to the Senate. President Buhari said this at a special dinner for the senators at the presidential villa. President Buhari urged the lawmakers to be upright and ensure they work harmoniously with the federal government. The senators were led to the presidential villa by Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki. 5 suspects in the list of the most wanted Boko Haram members released by the army last month have so far been arrested. This was disclosed to journalists by the Director of Defense Intelligence, Colonel Abubakar Arabi, who urged the public to be forthcoming with more information about the whereabouts of the terrorists. He also promised that the defense headquarters will make the list available to schools, markets, and other public places. 48 Nigerians who were deported by the British authorities arrived at the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos this morning. The affected Nigerians who reportedly arrived aboard a chartered aircraft from London are said to be the first batch of about 29,000 Nigerians awaiting deportation from the United Kingdom. Some of the deportees were said to have been staying in the UK without valid papers and were picked up by the British police without giving them the chance to take any of their belongings. The deportation move has generated controversy in the past weeks, with civil rights activists questioning the British government's decision. They describe it as illegal, especially as it affects those whose papers were still being processed when they were picked up.
A couple of years ago, Nigeria entered into an agreement, a memorandum of understanding on migration with the government of the UK. And it was, of course, stipulating the ways in which Nigerians who have to be deported from the UK would be deported from the UK. And, you know, the circumstances that stand out in the entire memorandum of understanding is that they must be able to ascertain that, 1, that they're Nigerian citizens, 2, that they're fit to travel, 3, that they have expended all the legal avenues available to them, 4, that they do not have strong family ties within the UK, and 5, that even when they have been certified as people who would be deported to Nigeria, that they be treated in dignity, that they be brought back to Nigeria with the utmost dignity, and that the trip would not be treating them as if they were criminals, quote unquote. Now, it is also worthy of note that unless a person has been issued with a travel certificate, in the event that the person's passport is invalid, that travel certificate must be given to the person by the Embassy of Nigeria. Now,
it's the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and one of those who fought for the elimination of violence against women in Nigeria is Mrs. Abike Dabiri Erewa, former member of the House of Representatives. She indeed submitted a bill for the prohibition of violence against persons, which was eventually signed into law by the former president, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. And today she is with us in the studio. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you and good evening.
If you go back in time, you just only left the House recently. What would you say about that particular law?
Well, that particular law has taken 12 years. I mean, we started in 2003 when I was in the House.
It's a long journey.
Sponsored is a long journey. So that we have I sponsored it in the House in the 7th Assembly and Senator Eswene in the Senate. So as we mark the Violence Against Women Day in Nigeria this year, it's significant that we have a law in place now. And this law is all encompassing. For instance, rape is life imprisonment and no option of a fine. Gang rape is individually and collectively 20 years imprisonment, no option of a fine. And the judge could also grant financial, the judge could also give the victim some kind of financial compensation depending on the circumstances. And the law also talks about female genital mutilation, spousal battery, beating up, political violence. Even the widows are taken care of in this bill. If you treat a widow harmfully in a bad way, you could be fined 500,000 naira or 2 years imprisonment and all that. So it's a bill that takes care of everything about violence against persons. So as we mark the day today, let everybody know that there's a law. At least you can seek justice, get redress. But most importantly is that we should talk about ensuring that it's implemented. All 36 states should try and domesticate the law. Lagos, Ekiti already have it in place, and I think about 3 other states. So it's important that it's not just a document, that we tell everyone, look, this law is there for you to seek justice and redress.
Certainly, it's a journey worth the while, but we just can't let you go without looking at what we just heard on the news. You were the chairperson then when you were in the House of Nigerians living in diaspora. 48 of them have just been brought in, and we understand 29,000 are still awaiting being repatriated. What did you find when you were going around different countries and looking into cases of some Nigerians living abroad?
Well, this particular case did not start yesterday. It's been on for months, and I'm wondering why Nigeria would allow this to happen just like that. So I believe that the Nigerian embassy has not engaged the UK government enough. It's not a Nigeria-specific problem. It's affecting illegal immigrants across the UK. India is highly affected, but you haven't heard Indians being deported. One of the reasons is that the Indian government is engaging the British government. For instance, every day you have about 20 Indians going home voluntarily. There's a voluntary return program that Nigerians in that situation can take advantage of, and it's done in such a way that you return voluntarily. They even ensure that you're adequately taking care of accommodation and all that. So I think there should be more engagement between the Nigerian and British government. It didn't start yesterday, so we can't just shout now, oh, why are they sending them back, when we haven't said anything all this while. So it's unfortunate, but realize that when this happened, it's not Mr. A or Mr. B, it's going to be Nigerians. And it gives the country a very negative image.
Thank you so much for spending time with us on the News at 10, Mrs. Abike Dabri-Arewa. Now, moving on to other stories. Governor Seriake Dickson has expressed confidence in his ability to make a much better leader if re-elected for another 4 years, courtesy of the experience he's gathered from his community to community tour. According to him, it has enabled him to get first-hand knowledge of the challenges faced by the various communities. The governor said this during his campaigning in a Kerema local government area of the state.
The tour of Ekerema local government began at Obirigbene community, a riverine settlement where the indigents welcomed the governor and his entourage. From there, the campaign moved to Isapo town, then to Tamogbene and 3 other nearby communities.
We are satisfied with the way you handle the economy of Niger State. We are satisfied that your second coming, I can drive my car to Obirigbene community.
For the people of Egbema and Galabiri, he is the first governor that ever visited them, and honoring them with his presence is all he needs to get their votes on the 5th of December.
That means that your visit indeed has shown that you are a countryman governor. And therefore we adopt you as the only candidate. Egbema and Galabiri Ward 12 in its entirety will vote for you.
The wife of the governor, Dr. Rachel Dickson, who is an indigene of Agoro community, joined her husband to campaign in a local government. She encouraged the women to participate by voting massively for the PDP.
For every woman who deserves good education, for her son, for her daughter, for those who want the job woman to have a name, for those who want the job woman to be celebrated, for those who want the best of amenities in our community, PDP and Governor Dixon is the answer.
Addressing the mega rally at Ekeremo, Governor Dixon assures the people of his commitment to completing the multi-billion naira senatorial road project.
You have seen leaders, you have heard from leaders and women leaders, youth leaders in all communities in the Ekeremo local government, and here terminating in the local government headquarters itself. Contrary to the propaganda by the opposition, you now see that the people are with the PDP.
The governor also paid courtesy call on traditional rulers of the various communities.
When the news at 10 returns, Senate begins deliberation on the supplementary budget. That's in a moment. Do stay with us.